Hello everyone, welcome to What's New in Commerce TechTalk. My name is Meenu Laul and I'll be moderating this session and also covering the first part of this session. Along with me, I have Febin Chiramel and Harish Jayaprakash. Without further ado, let's get started. We have a big agenda to cover today, as you can see on the screen. So we'll try to cover most of the topic which we released recently in Dynamics 365 Commerce. We have divided our tech talk in 3 sections. First section will cover new capabilities in Store Commerce app. The second part will focus more on mobile POS and hardware related changes. And the third part will focus on overall core capabilities which we added. Let's discuss our first topic, Copilot in Dynamics 365 Commerce. So Copilot for Dynamics 365 Commerce can help you deliver personalized customer experiences, optimize product management, and streamline retail operation for store associates, manager, and back office staff with AI. We'll first talk about Copilot features on Store Commerce app. The first one on the left is Product Insights. For Product Insights, whether you're introducing a new products or welcoming new store employees, keeping everybody informed and prepared is essential. Copilot provides comprehensive product insights, including clear and concise descriptions, key benefits, inventory level, like it tells you how many you have in stock, and the discount details, so that you can offer it to the end customers. Like in our example and screenshot, you can see that this women's coat is in stock at New York, and we can offer a 20% discount. You can also see our related products like gloves and other things you can offer along with that. So in the end, employee can access all this information and offer to your customers to boost your sales. So by equipping store employees with knowledge and confidence to engage customer effectively, Copilot turns interactions into opportunities, increase customer satisfaction, sales, and all important, it increases the average order value. The second one is Customer Insights. Copilot simplifies the process of understanding your customers. It aggregates data on customer preferences from Dynamics 365 Commerce, which gives you an in-depth and comprehensive view of your customers, such as their favorite categories, what is their preferred price range, lifetime value, which could be decided on based on recency, frequency, and monitoring metrics. You can also see their previous interaction with a quick glance. That way you can start the conversation and do a follow-up. That way you can provide a better relationship and more personalized engagement when they come to your store. The third one is a Report Insights. After end of the day for store employees, Copilot provides instant insights, generating narrative summaries for channel reports. You'll receive a precise overview of critical metrics such as sales, revenue, profit margins, and overall store performance right at your fingertips. Copilot real-time analysis keep you ahead, updating summary as new data arrives, and empowering your store associates to communicate results effectively and accurately at the same time. There are 3 steps to enable a Copilot features in Store Commerce app. The first one is we have included temporary flag, which is in the feature management called Enable Copilot in Store Commerce. As soon as you turn on the flag, it turn on your another flag, which is in Commerce Share Parameters. This is going to be a permanent flag after we remove the feature management, and this needs to be turned on going forward, but this gets turned on default as soon as you turn on the feature management flag. We are also giving you additional flexibility to turn on the individual insight and on pause within a functionality profile. Take an example, you want to only turn on the product insights for whatever reason, you can turn it on and you can turn off other one for customer insights and report insight and vice versa. You can make that decision also. Let's talk about the Copilot-based insights in Commerce Headquarters. We have seen Store Commerce. Now we're going to see what are the different capabilities, Copilot-based capabilities added in Commerce Headquarters. The first one is, it's in your statement posting. Copilot can summarize posted and unposted retail statement in HQ, and it highlights key insights such as number of active transactions, total sales amount, and risk like returns without receipts, expense transaction, and price override. This insights into retail statement allow for a straightforward and efficient management of your financial reports, and it helps you even detect and correct at the same time without moving into different screens. You can also identify the issue, as mentioned, without going to a different firm and take a corrective measures and that way you reduce the risk for supporting inquiries for your problems. So there's a quick way you can go directly to your problem and fix it and come back. Another feature is being added in the merchandising configuration insights by Copilot. As we all know that merchandising is complex and time-consuming process, which involve configuring products, categories, catalog, and attributes for each channel. Copilot enhances merchandiser efficiency by streamlining merchandising workflows, summarizing product settings, and automatic data validation by checking in for error and inconsistency in your product merchandising data. From the Copilot summaries, you can navigate to a list of issues and act without losing context to address problem promptly and efficiently. That way, your products are correctly configured and displayed in your channels. Now we have seen what all features are added. Let's see what are it's dependent on. All the Copilot features are dependent on a Dataverse. So you need to have a Dataverse environment connected to your F&O environment. For that to be done, you need to enable your Power Platform integration through LCS. So let's talk about the cross-region data sharing. We do understand that security is very important for all organizations. So let's take an example. If your Dynamics 365 environment is hosted in EU boundary, you can use OpenAI endpoint in the same boundary. So we do respect all the security boundaries which you have defined in your current environment. Let's quickly talk about the availability and versions for both Store Commerce app, Store Commerce Copilot, and the Commerce HQ Copilot one. Both of them are available and as of now English. The other language is supposed to come, it's tentatively coming in November 2034. We'll keep you updated on that. Store Commerce Copilot feature is available as of 10.039 PDQ4 and further on. We already talked about how to enable it, but as of now, Store Commerce Copilot is available in Cloud Pass and Store Commerce in online mode only, which means it's not available in offline. For Commerce HQ, it is available as of 10.038 with PDQ5. And for enablement, we can enable all three of them through feature management. Now we're going to talk about non-reoccurring token, which we introduced recently in Commerce. First, let's talk about why non-reoccurring token was introduced. And ideally, tokenization should only happen we should only tokenize based on the customer context. That's the reason we introduce a non-reoccurring token. As of now, it tokenizes all transactions. So starting 10.040, Commerce offer non-reoccurring token feature wherein payment processing can handle without saving reoccurring card token. And it applies to all channels, online store, POS, and call center. For that, you need to turn on these three features as mentioned on the screen. Along with that, you need to disable the reoccurring token in Adyen portal. With non-reoccurring token, we have provided the flexibility to allow the authorization at each payment level for stores. And it is also available at the call center level. By default, initially before non-reoccurring token, there was a value number of days before expiration was an accounts payable parameter section. But now we have provided at every payment level. If you don't provide it every payment level, it's going to go default to a number of days, which is mentioned on accounts receivable payment section. Now let's look at how reoccurring tokens will work at POS transaction. There are two types of transaction we do at POS, either cash and carry or the customer orders. For cash and carry, since customer pay for the good, so the payment would be captured. So we won't be tokenizing your card at a time and it doesn't even need to be tokenized. This is with non-reoccurring token. The second one is the customer order. It would check if the requesting date is within the defined threshold level. If it's within the defined threshold level, it will not tokenize. Else, it will pop up to authorize the card to be tokenizing. So if you see in the screenshot, now my shipping date is more than the defined level. It will pop up with that screenshot and ask you, can I tokenize the payment? At that time, you can ask a customer if they are okay to tokenize that card for you. Let's talk about cash management for multiple currency in stores. This feature is introduced in 10.038 and it allows all cash management operation like tender declaration returns to support foreign currency. It is introduced as mentioned in 10.038. Let's check the video how it works. So we understand that cash management is a key function for retailers in physical stores. Retailers want their stores to have a system that can provide a complete traceability and accountability of cash and its movement across the different registers and cashiers in a store. They must be able to reconcile any difference and determine the accountability. For the current POS, retailers can configure POS to accept the multiple currency as a payment for a transaction. But return can only be provided in store default currency. As an example, a retailer configure their US store with the USD as a default currency, but the customer pays for a transaction using pounds. So any change provided for the transaction or a return can only be provided in the store default currency, which is USD. So some retailers, or specifically the one which operate at airport, want that specific stores to enable cashier to return change in the tendered currency. With Commerce version 10.038, all cash management operations support foreign currency in addition to a store's default currency. With that being said, let's see the setup in the headquarters that needs to be done. So first step is we'll go to all stores. I want to do it for Houston, so I'll choose that one. I'll go to my setup and click on cash declaration. Here I'll define all the different denominators, whether I want to accept coin and whatnot for that particular currency along with USD. So I'm doing for pounds and save it. Along with that, for that store, we want to make sure a start amount calculation is a sum of different foreign currencies. So after I do that, I want to push those changes to my store commerce app. And for that, I will run 1070 job. And let's say once it finishes, we can go ahead and do that testing at our POS. So let's look at the POS. So the first step is you're going to declare your start amount before start of the ship. So here, by default, the currency shows USD. I can go ahead and select as if I can go add a filter for my pounds. And I'll put 100 here. I just want to define this one. I'll click on save. It will tell me that they will be converted to so and so. So I'd say save. And now let's do a quick transaction. I'll pay this in pounds again. And let's say I want to return this product which I just bought. So I can go to show channel. And while paying back or returning, I can choose I want it to be returned to pounds. So I'll go ahead and return in pound. That concludes the demo for a cash management in all foreign currencies. Thank you. So you've seen the demo. Let's move to our next topic called optimize payment flows. Currently we are working on modernizing the POS user interface by transitioning into a React UI framework. The React UI framework brings fluid and efficient user flows that seamlessly work across different browser and applications. For our first test of changes, we are deploying it to a payment flows, which we understand is most frequently used operation. So traditional POS payment flows require multiple window props and multiple mouse clicks. So with this update repackages the process flows into a single pane action window for improved efficiency. You will see those changes in the subsequent screenshot. To enable the new payment UI interface, you need to enable the feature flag, which is enable unified payment experience in POS. As of 10.040, the new interface being added for cash, card, and check, and for on-account currency, credit memo, and all gift cards will be introduced in 10.042. And for loyalty, the plan is to put it on 2025 Day 1. On the left, you will see an old payment flow. And on the right, you would see a new payment flow. Just put added so they can see the difference. The new pay card payment flow shows the transaction amount that is due, together with the swipe card and enter manually input methods also. So after you swipe card or enter it manually, the payment screen is then presented. The screen even allows you to put the sub-entry amount if customer wants to pay a different amount than the preset transaction total. So we are giving you more flexibility with less clicks and able to put different things in the same screen itself. Here is one more screen for pay cash payment flow. This pane shows you to enter the cash amount that the customer is paying in case if they want to do a partial cash. They can also pay the partial cash here. It also even shows you a button if you want to pay in the different currency, that it even shows all those quick pay amounts. Also, you can click on it and take that. Let's talk about another feature, which is payment Poland localization, is to exclude orders from the statement aggregation. Let's begin by explaining the fiscal regulation in Poland. This regulation requires businesses to issue printed invoice if requested by customers. And this must be done for up to 4 weeks following the transaction. It is important to note that this obligation only applies under certain conditions, which business needs to verify to ensure that they remain compliant. Now, let's talk about the current challenge which we face. When orders are aggregated, they cannot be retrieved individually, which causes an issue with complying with the Polish fiscal regulations, as it becomes difficult to access specific orders for invoicing. To address this, we have added a feature modification. This modification excludes qualifying orders from being aggregated. As a result, these orders can still be accessed and opened individually at headquarters when needed, which allows business to easily retrieve and print invoices on that specific orders. Ultimately, this solution helps ensure compliance with Poland fiscal laws, but making it more efficient to handle and retrieve specific transactions for invoicing purposes. Let's see how we can turn on those. So first step is there is a feature flag added in the feature management that you need to turn on. It's called enable storing of customer tax identification number for transaction as an order attributes. Along with that, you're going to define an attribute which would store your tax identification number, and that needs to be selected in your POS functionality profile as shown in the screen. So once this feature are enabled, the NIP number, which is a tax identification number, is stored in order attributes, which can be identified and retrieved while processing your statement to exclude it from the aggregation. Here is the sample code that could be utilized to skip those transactions from the statement aggregation. As you can see an example, we have add skip aggregation to yes, and then we are identifying those transactions by using a flag. Now I will hand over to Febin to talk about mobile and hardware specific feature introducing latest release. Over to you, Febin.
Now we will see some of the latest investment in mobile POS and hardware station functionalities. First, we will talk about barcode scanning improvements released for store commerce mobile apps. With release of 10.40, we now support the usage of rear camera on mobile devices for scanning the barcodes and QR codes. This is a new feature, eliminate the need for separate hardware like barcode scanners and custom software for reading the QR codes and barcodes. The built-in functionality in Store Commerce app are available for both Android and iOS applications. It supports all the major workflows such as product scanning, extended logon, and gift card processing, etc. It also supports reading the Cloud POS URL while activating the POS, which will help IT admins to easily activate the POS on mobile devices. To enable the rear camera scanning capability, you need to change the scanner type to device in hardware profile. Once this is configured, you need to run the CDX job to push the changes to the POS. Once the configurations are done, you can see a icon, barcode scanning icon in your mobile POS. We will see a quick demo on barcode scanner in mobile POS. Once the configurations are complete, you can see a scanning icon available in mobile POS. Then rear camera can be used to read and populate the CPOS URL while activating the POS. You can also use the extended logon to scan the barcode to log into the POS. Then you can scan the barcodes to add the item to cart. You can also scan the QR code to add the item to the cart. then you can complete the payment by completing the cash payment or other kind of payments. Then you can conclude the transaction and print the receipt to the network printer. Now we will see the extension support for Android hardware stations. With Dynamics 365 Commerce 10.41 release, Store Commerce app for Android now support hardware station extensibility. This new feature allows customers or partners to build the extension for specific hardware station needs, similar to Store Commerce app hardware station. It also enables organizations to use Android mobile devices for physical registers. How it works? So you need to download the Store Commerce Android package from LCS Shared Asset Library. Then a sample code is available in GitHub. Once the solution is built and packaged, then this APK file can be side loaded or published through Play Store. Now we will see the multi-selection of hardware station feature. In this session, we will discuss new feature that allow store associate to select shared hardware stations when printing the receipt. Previously, Microsoft Dynamics POS allow only 2 printers configured in hardware profile. Now, Store Commerce app can be configured to choose any selected network printer from the list. So once this feature is configured, when store associate try to print a receipt, hardware station selection screen will be prompted, and they can select the hardware station in the nearest location and print the receipt. This is particularly useful when store associates are using mobile POS. For example, if they are on a first floor of a store, they need to print a receipt. They can choose the nearest receipt printer. And if they move with their mobile POS, they can choose the printer from the new location. So as usual, you need to have a hardware profile attached to a register, but then make sure that that printer type is marked as fallback. Then go to the store. There we need to select, we need to add as many, we can add as many dedicated hardware station as needed. For each dedicated hardware station, select an appropriate hardware profile. Then ensure that printer is pre-configured as network printer. Finally, make sure there is an additional entry with the default dedicated hardware station where hardware profile field is blank. That means that if you select that hardware station, it will fall back to the register's selected hardware profile. After completing the configuration, configure the IP addresses of each network printer in the store screen. Then run the CDX job to push the changes to channel side. Then once you log in into POS, enable the hardware station on POS, and when you try to print the receipt, you will be popped up. You will get prompt to select the hardware station you want to use. There you can select the hardware station and print the receipt to the nearest printer. Now we will see tap to pay feature in payments, which is released as part of 10.40 update. Tap to pay on iPhone can be enabled in a Store Commerce app installed in iPhone when Adyen payment connector is configured. This feature allows store associate to accept in-person payments directly on the iPhones. So it will eliminate the need for a dedicated hardware payment terminal. So this is going to reduce the cost and maintenance of the dedicated terminals. So what are the version requirements? So the Commerce headquarters must be on 10.40 and above. Then Store Commerce on iPhone must be on 950 and above. Then you need to enable the accept NFC payments checkbox in hardware profile. And if you do not see this checkbox, then you need to contact product group because it is right now controlled using flight. Once you are able to enable accept NFC payment, you can use the tap to pay on iPhone. I will show you a demo, quick demo, how it works.
I'd like to switch over to and just show latest progress on the Adyen Tap to Pay on iPhone. So for those that may know, we're working on this tap to pay feature that Adyen offers through the iPhone specifically. And it's using any NFC card payment can be accepted directly on the iPhone itself. So you can skip having to have a separate terminal, or you can configure a separate terminal to have a fallback for the other payment methods. So this will really take part of having a tap to pay button for an override on the card payment method type. And so if somebody has their digital wallet on their phone with a payment method, they can click it to the iPhone that you're using for store commerce, and it'll accept the payment. It'll also accept NFC-enabled credit cards. So I'm going to show a quick video on that. There's no volume in this video, but I'll talk through quickly what's happening. So here you see the security pen to log back into store commerce on iPhone. As they go through, you select the payment methods, you click tap to pay, and then you enter the sub amount, and you'll see the window pop up, accepting the NFC card and going through. And with that, the transaction shows complete. You get the summary and go back. And I'll note that's the older UX. You'll also have this for the mobile UX refresh that I just showed. So we'll have both configurations will be working. And we'll have the extensions available too if you want to go to just tap to pay and have a device as a standalone exactly. And with that, we'll have more information as more progress is made on this feature, but that's an exciting feature we have coming for payments that we're looking forward to.
So there are some limitations when you use tap to pay on iPhone. The major limitation is you cannot authorize the remaining balance when you are working with customer order scenarios. So in that case, either you need to take a full order amount, or you can select the option to pay balance later. If both are not working, then you need to connect iPhone with another hardware station with a dedicated payment terminal to authorize the remaining balance. Now we will see the inventory visibility add-in integration with Commerce. Currently, Commerce offers channel-side inventory calculation, and it tracks the inventory at channel side very accurately. But when there are multiple sources involved in updating the inventory, then it relies on scheduled batch jobs to exchange data between back office and channel side. So this comes with an disadvantages, particularly if you need a real-time inventory snapshot, especially when multiple CSUs are involved or multiple data sources are involved in inventory update. So this new feature enhance the. So what is new? So we are using inventory visibility service from supply chain management as a backbone to update the inventory. So inventory visibility service will make sure inventory snapshots are available to all the channel side activities. Now we can see what is inventory visibility service. So inventory visibility service or inventory visibility add-in for supply chain management, it is an independent, highly scalable microservice which is enabled to track the inventory across different data sources. It provides with a set of RESTful APIs to interact with. When you enable this new feature, Commerce natively integrate with inventory visibility service, and inventory visibility service will take care of inventory tracking. So how it works, whenever there is a Commerce channel request for a real-time inventory data, inventory visibility service provide that inventory information to the channel side or the CSUs. And whenever there is an event that changes inventory in the system, such as order creation, editing, cancellation, return, then inventory, this event is updated in inventory visibility service, and the inventory snapshots are updated real time. And it is available to all other CSUs, all other channels. What are the best use case for enabling inventory visibility add-in in Commerce, especially when you are using Commerce and supply chain hand in hand? So when you are using inventory visibility add-in, you get more real time instead of you don't have to wait for the batch jobs to complete and snapshot to push through CDX jobs. When you are using POS and e-commerce, normally these are running on different CSUs, and if you have different CSUs powering up your channels, then inventory visibility service can help you to get the real-time inventory updates across the channels. Then third case is when there are third-party systems involved in inventory updates. That is also a best use case for inventory visibility add-in feature in Commerce. So That's it about the inventory visibility for commerce. And now I will hand over to Harish to talk about self-checkout features.
Hey, thanks, Febin. Let's quickly take a look at what is available in self-checkout and store commerce, right? As you see, like the self-checkout feature allows the shoppers to scan products, apply discounts or loyalty rewards, and pay using the cards without the need for a cashier. A typical cashier experience is not needed here. This self-checkout app is available in preview in 10.0.40 and expected to be general available by end of this year. And from the configuration standpoint, you can activate a specific point of sale as a self-checkout mode in the register when you're setting it up. And you'll need to have sync the necessary jobs which is needed for a typical activation of the point of sale. So that activation experience is not different here. Now let's see what are the out-of-box features that are available in self-checkout app. To start off with, the login is very much simplified and almost similar to our regular cashier login. And we also have out-of-box layout available for the self-checkout app, which is pretty much intuitive interface. And this is also aligned with the larger work or the future work that our team is working on in terms of the UI UX refreshments there. As you would see in the screenshot, the orange button which denotes an option to call for assistance, which is available, which is in case if the cashier, in case if the shopper needs assistance from cashier during the transaction, he can click and then he'll be able to go ahead and perform those activities in case of void or any other overrides that he has to do. And the shopper can also browse the product from the app in case if they're not able to go ahead and scan the barcode or not. It also gives you a capability to go ahead and restrict specific products from being offered in the self-checkout by setting up the, I think it's blocked at self-checkout option as is in the release product level. And from a peripheral standpoint, we do support peripherals like printer, scanner, and payment terminals, etc. And we do support offline as well with respect to the self-checkout app. Like our store commerce app, the Adyen payment integration is available out of box as well. Just a announcement here, we do plan for a tech talk on self-checkout app in near future where we'll dive deeper on the capabilities. So keep an eye out on for the communications and be sure to join us for the webinar to learn more about this exciting feature there. Now, let's quickly move on to a quick demo on self-checkout app. First, the store manager or user is logging onto the self-checkout device using a generic self-checkout user configured with right set of permissions. Now you see on the out-of-box self-checkout layout assigned to the register, which is optimized for the shopper experience. And you can also notice that navigation pane on the left and the search bar on the top is not part of this layout. Now, as part of this, let's go ahead and scan the couple of products. And let's go ahead and add a customer to the transaction as well. So you can see that we are adding our products now. Now we are going to go ahead and scan and add the loyalty by scanning the customer's loyalty card. And as I mentioned, we also have allowed the shopper to browse through products such as products that are small to scan or products that are not enabled with scanning, right? You can go ahead and scan and add it. Now, the shopper can also call for assistance, as I mentioned earlier, to void or override the transaction. So you just have to click on the top, the call for assistance button, and you can, once you log in with the manager override, you'll be able to go ahead and perform that, right? So you can void or you can do other override activities over there. Now, let's go ahead and complete the checkout with payment by card. So I'm going to go ahead and tap the payment there, a payment card there. Now you can see in a while that the payment is complete. And the system will go back to the home screen once the payment is complete and the receipt is out of the printer there. Now let's move on and talk about the archive for commerce transactions. Before we go on to talk about the archival, I wanted to talk have a quick recap about the importance of the data archival and the long-term retention. Most of you are already familiar with the archival capabilities which we introduced earlier this year with respect to finance and operations. After completing all the available cleanups in the finance and operations, right? Like there are still certain data that might be available in the system, such as the inventory transactions or the specific business records that we cannot or do not want to wish to delete from business process perspective or business use case perspective or the auditing requirements, right? In these cases, our recommendation is to go ahead and archive these records, and it becomes very essential for you to go ahead and archive as well. That's one of the key importance for enabling this data archival, right? Now, other important thing would be like managing the database size, which is critical concern for controlling the cost and facilitating the database movements between the environments. One effective strategy to address this issue is through the data archival. And from an audit perspective, you have the flexibility to go ahead and define the retention policy in the AX database, allowing you to determine how long the data should remain before it transfer to the long-term retention as well, right? By combining the cleanups and the archiving, you not only optimize the storage, but also enhance the database health. This ensures a smoother indexing and the data transfers between your instances, ultimately leading to the improved system performance for you. Now let's take a quick look at high-level architecture and the data flow for the archive framework. On the left-hand side, we have finance and operations database. On the right, we have Dataverse managed data lake. The archiving process starts by defining your retention policy. For instance, say you have 5 years of sales data, but you want to your retention policy only requires to keep 2 years of data in the live FNO database. In this case, you want to retain the 2 years worth of data in the live table within FNO and the archive the remaining 3 years data, right? So when you implement the archival solution, initially all the 5 years worth of data will be synced from FNO AX database to the Microsoft managed data lake or the Dataverse managed data lake here. During this sync, 3 years of data that you want to archive will be moved from live table, which is there on the left-hand side, from the FNO live table to your FNO history table within the same database. So both the live table and the history table is going to remain within your FNO database itself, right? For example, let's say if you're dealing with sales line table, the 3 years of archive data will be transferred to sales line history table and marked as archive. And there would be other related tables as well when you're doing the sales order archival, right? So all those respective tables, which we have already documented, will be part of this archival when you run this. At the end of this process, you will have 2 years of active data in FNO live table and 3 years of FNO history, 3 years of data in the FNO history table, and all 5 years of data is stored in Dataverse managed data lake, with 3 years of those data is marked as archived there. Now you might wonder, how does moving the data between the tables in the same database is going to save space or reduce the storage, right? The answer lies in the indexing actually. For high volume tables like inventrans or sales line, data profiling typically shows that about 20% of space is taken up by our data itself, and the 80% of data is occupied by the indexes. So by moving the 3 years of data to the history table with minimal indexing, you automatically freeing up 80% of storage space that was originally used by more heavily on the index live table there, right? When the data is moved from FNO to the Microsoft managed data lake, it is compressed. Since there is no indexes in the data lake, we save even more space there as well. We also employ column compression to further optimize the storage. In Dynamics 365, for example, let's say a table like inventrans, we may have 100 plus columns there, but only 60 to 80 columns have them actual relevant data for your business. The rest of often filled with the default values or the repetitive values. So when it moves to a data lake, these redundant columns are compressed into single memory reference pointing back to the actual table, and which can reduce the database storage up to 80% compared to the FNO database for you. Additionally, the data archival workspace includes a feature to rehydrate or restore the data from your history table to the live table in case if you want to go back as well. We also are actively working on purging solution for the history tables, which will be part of our future roadmap release. Now let's take a quick look at a small sample here. So if you see the live table and the history table, in our example, what we've seen is like the sales line and sales line history table, right? Both of them are part of your FNO, and let's take in the initial stage, your live table has 1,000 records. History table, as we have not executed the archival, it has 0 records. And when you enable the archival, initially the 1,000 records from live table will be moved or copied to the Microsoft managed or Dataverse managed data lake there. Now, when you complete with your archival process, let's assume as a part of a qualification criteria, you have identified, the system identifies 400 records has to be archived. So what typically happens is 400 records would be moved from your live table to the history table. Remember, the data is still within the FNO database there. It moved from the actual sales line table to the sales line history table as per our example earlier. So now the sales line table will have 600 records and the history table would have 400 records, but your Dataverse managed data lake will have 1,000 records there, which is 600 of your live table and 400 of your history table there. Now, as I mentioned, we don't have purge available as of now, but we are actively working on it. What we see is once we enable it, when the purging is executed on the history table, you'll have your AX database will have 600 live records in the live table, and whatever we moved as part of archival earlier into the history table, the 400 records will be deleted as part of the purging, and your MDL will have 1,000 records, which will be like 600 from the live table and 400 from your history table there. Now, once it is available in MDL, you have an option to go ahead and read the data with Microsoft Fabric and to go ahead and visualize the data that is moved there, right? Now, let's quickly see what is new or what is coming new from a commerce perspective, right? As part of 10.0.40, we have enabled this archival. It is in preview now. So you can go ahead and enable your instances in 10.0.40, and it is going to be similar to how we have, like if you are just using commerce, you need to go ahead and enable with a feature, and then you need to go ahead and from a system administration, you can go ahead and run the archive with database long-term workspace, and you can look at the retail transactions over there, and you can start setting up your archival job from here. Now, we also captured list of tables, which is part of this archival feature. As of today, we have approximately 52 tables that is available, which covers the commerce archival scenario. And these tables are pretty much documented in our Learns or doc sites as well. Now, if you see that major categorization would be like the retail transactions tables, like be it like retail transaction table as such, or validation error, or your sales trans, etc. Tables which is starting with retail transaction, that has huge chunk. And second set, you would see like your retail end of the day statement or end of the day transaction tables, which is there. And the last one is the retail statement trans, retail statement voucher, and retail statement JER has been covered as part of this archival scenario as of now. Now let's move on to the next feature that we want to cover, which is the CSU Index Compression, the on-prem CSU. When we say on-premises here, we are talking about your self-hosted CSU. This feature enables index compression to help reduce the size of the database on self-hosted CSU. One of the key things that you need to note here is that the store hours are configured. The index compression is going to occur outside of the store hours. If the store hours are not configured, the index compression occurs between 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. So according to the local machine time, right? So that is something that you need to keep an eye on. As I mentioned, this is available as starting 10.0.41, and it can only be used in SQL Server Express for you. To use this feature, you need to go ahead and enable the on-premise CSU database compression flag, which is available as part of your commerce schedule parameters there. And you need to run the 11.10 distribution schedule job after that. Now we are moving out to our last topic of our day, which is your PPAC Commerce trial. Many of you would be already familiar with the Power Platform Admin Center for Dynamics Finance and Operations, which we introduced some time ago. Now we are excited to announce that we are now developing or getting into PPAC for Commerce as well. Currently, we have enabled the deployment of trial versions, and our team is actively working on making this available for your sandboxes and production environments, right? While we don't have a specific ETA for or when these will be available, we encourage you to try the trial version and share your feedback with us. Your insights will be invaluable for as we move forward with these changes that's coming with our Commerce instance. With that, I'm going to open up for Q&A. And I know like there are a few questions we have already answered earlier. Is there any questions that you want to call out?
They're asking any new Copilot feature that can expect in a short term. That's the question from Hitesh. So do you want me to answer that one? I can take
go
that.
Ahead. Go ahead, Meenu. Yep.
So yes, we are planning more Copilot features. You're welcome to give us a feedback. We are willing to take feedback from you guys. And if you have any special feedback, that would help us prioritize those two. So send us an email. We have provided the email in the Q&A section. Hitesh, so feel free to let us know which one you're looking and how can we help you there.
I do see one question. I know Febin already answered. I think it's worth calling out here as well. Regarding the Polish legalization, the question is the Polish legalization a new requirement, as all the transactions are reported to authorities by fiscal printer? Traditionally, to give an invoice, we use customer order to generate invoice, right? Febin, you wanted to take it up and share a bit more there, Febin? I know you've already answered it, but just wanted to call out.
Yes. So one of the challenge what we had was the NIP number is coming as part of the fiscal integration, right? And this is going in a JSON format, and it was very difficult to retrieve from the transactions. And what this feature is doing, it will allow you to retrieve that NIP number, and it will store against your order attribute, so that at any point that what is the NIP number for that transaction, and Then the Polish law says that if someone is coming with an NIP number, then they can ask for a invoice. So if it is not a customer order and if it is cash and carry, and then if you want to get that transaction mapped to a sales order and generate invoice, then you can implement that sample code, which that sample code will allow you to skip the transactions from the aggregation, so that, wherever there is a NIP number, you can create that transaction as a single sales order, and then you can generate the invoice later if required. So that is how it works. So the change what product brings, you can easily store the NIP number into an order attribute.
Harish, do you want to answer one more question? It says, can a quick pay amounts on the pay screen not be displayed by configuration?
Yeah, I think from a configuration standpoint, as I mentioned in the chat as well, right? Yes, you can go ahead and configure that with the screen layouts. You'll be able to go ahead and say, hey, I want to go ahead and show it or not. That's completely flexible. You can go ahead and make it configurable from HQ screen layout configurations there. Yep.
And there is a question on archival of commerce transactions. They don't see that feature available. So how they can enable it?
Question. Good question there. So as I mentioned, this is currently in preview, right? So as Febin mentioned in one of the features for preview, you might have to reach out to a product group, or you can reach out to us on the email as well, so that we can work with the engineering, or you can either reach out to the support to enable it, the flighting. It is behind the flighting as of today. You can either reach out to the support route, or you can drop an email to us so that we can work with the engineering to go ahead and enable that flighting in your specific instance. Any other questions, Meenu, that you want to call out there?
I guess we pretty much answered all the questions. And then Mohammed did ask the flight name. Mohammed, we can reach to you on the side to give you a flight name for archival, or you can create a support ticket as mentioned by Harish. There is a question by Hitesh. He's asking, he's keen to know if there's any enhancement plan for Copilot chat with PBA module. I just want to call out that, Hitesh, we do have a Copilot studio that could be help you with to making all those changes with your Copilot. So the extensibility is not allowed as of now, but we do have a plans for it. So keep in lookout for those extensibility for Copilot features.
All right, then if there are no further questions, I want to say once again, thank you for attending, and thank you for my co-presenters and you, the audience, for attending the Tech Talk today. We hope you had a great rest of the day today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.